how to make your horse happier. Is that all right? That's kind of cool. Also, the lecture uses your own pictures. You guys are the pictures in the book. So I think it's pretty neat, all right? We're now going to do the lecture on the mechanics of the jumping position. What can we do to develop the greatest, most balanced jumping position possible? All right, now, before we get started, I want to just, and I know that many of you heard this last year, but I want to go over it again, all right? There are two basic jumping styles that we've been able to identify, two general jumping styles. One is a very prominent jumping style here in the United States, and another is what we consider quite a European jumping style. I'm going to show you the two jumping styles today, and then we're going to make a decision which one might be most appropriate for our horses and that sort of thing. So we're going to look at the two jumping styles, but then when we look at them, we're going to dissect them and break them right down to the position of your head and your knees and your hands and that sort of thing. So I'm going to start with the first lecture, all right? Here comes the two jumping styles, okay? So there will be two jumping styles. Each of them require the same movement in the body. I'm just getting dressed here, hang on. Here we go. Okay, each of them require the same movement. I've been on planes for like 7 hours already. I'm just a little undressed right now. Okay, so each jumping style requires the same movement. That is called breaking. Remember that from last year? Breaking. Here is breaking. You take a straight line and you break it. It's now a broken line. Y'all see that? It's also called closing the hip angles, but we're going to call it breaking today. All right? Over every fence, if we want to stay in balance and out of trouble, we must break. Right? So, and jump. There's the break. Do y'all agree I'm pretty balanced right now? All right? Okay? So, there are three pieces to every break. The first piece is this. At all times, we need to remember to keep our shoulders still. They can move down and up, okay, a little tiny bit, but we want to avoid them jumping forward. You all agree? You want to avoid the shoulders moving. So the first rule of the break is this. We want to keep the shoulders still, all right? The second rule of the break, we want to keep the hips bending, opening and closing, supple, moving with the horse. So we would break, and then when we land, we would open. Like the posting trot. They break, open, canter. They break, open. The hips are always moving. As long as the horse is always moving, the hips should always be moving, because that's our point of connection. First two rules of the break, shoulders still, hips moving. Third rule of the break, and this one's really important. At all points, we want to keep our knees bent. Okay, we want to keep the knees bent, all right? So watch this jump, and jump. Knees are bent, hips broke, and shoulders stayed still. They didn't go forward or backwards. Y'all agree I'm in good balance, ready? And balance, I'm a balanced jumper. Do y'all agree, in order for us to stay in balance, we must break? In order to stay in balance and out of trouble, we must break. What does that mean? All right, watch this jump, and jump. Good break, I'm in balance. Watch this jump, and jump. Am I in trouble now? Why am I in trouble? Am I in trouble because I jumped in front of the motion? Not really. I'm in trouble because I forgot to break, didn't I? What are the three rules of the break? Shoulders still, hips moving, knees stay bent. How many of those rules am I breaking now? Watch in slow motion. Whoa. Okay. Here's the problem with the shoulders. Did you guys realize when 10 pounds moves forward, 10 pounds has to move back. You see how the leg has to go back? It goes back automatically and consciously to balance the body. If the leg doesn't go back and the shoulders go forward, I fall off the front of the horse. We just wouldn't let that happen. So riders who jump forward tend to lose their leg back. Should I tell that rider, get your leg forward, get your leg forward? I could, but would she listen to me? She would, but could she do it? She couldn't. You know why? Because her legs are a function of what's happening in her shoulders. So what would I yell at her? Remember our fences, keep those shoulders still. Because if the shoulders stay still, then the leg stays underneath us. Okay? Riders, how many rules of the break am I breaking right now? And jump. How many rules did I just break? Did the shoulders go forward? Did I straighten my knees? I'm now off balance. I have to pinch the knees, which tightens the hips. I've now broken all three rules. All right? So do you all see the point of being able to have a good break? Now, what I want to do is I want to talk a whole lot more about it so we really understand it. This is where we're going to go. You guys know gymnasts, you know like a gymnast, when they do their flippy things, when they land, what are they taught to do to stay in balance? They're taught to
break. Bend their knees.
Bend their knees, stick it, right? Put their hands on that. They're taught to stick their landing, right? Watch this. Flippy thing. Did I just stick my landing? What did I just do? I just broke. You know what the braking position is? On the flat and over fences, because the break happens at all parts of jumping. Watch. Shoulders still, hips moving, knees bent. There's the canter. Shoulders still, hips moving, knees bent. There's the canter, posting trot. Shoulders still, hips moving, knees bent. That's the whole point of riding on the flat and over fences. Because, guess what? It's our basic athletic stance, all right? Okay, so flippy thing, stick the landing, okay? What position am I in right now? Nope, basketball. No, okay. What position am I in right now?
Football.
No, tennis. You know, how many of you go crazy when people say, oh, but the horse does all the work, don't you just kind of like sit there? Does that make you crazy, right? You know why it makes us crazy? Because we believe we're athletes, right? We believe that we're every bit the athlete as all of the tennis and football players, correct? Guess what? We prove it to ourselves every day because we ride in the basic athletic stance. Isn't that interesting? We ride in the athletic stance. The basketball, so the basic athletic stance. Knees wide apart, weight in the heels, knees bent, hips back, shoulders open, hands in front of you. There's the position. This is the volleyball position. This is the football position. This is the riding position. All right? So do we all see the importance of making sure that we break over every fence? All right? It's really important. So do you all agree it's so important that over every fence we should have one good break? Guess what? It's so important that we believe that, in fact, over every fence, we might want to have two good breaks. Two good breaks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly introduce the idea of two different jumping styles. The first jump style is called the single break. The second one is called the double break. So what do they look like and what are the differences? Here's the double break or the single break. This is what the majority of American riders tend to do. And I think what we've identified is that this jumping style comes from our long history of the hunter and equitation disciplines. Okay, so this is the single break jump technique. It looks like this. On the approach, the hips are breaking, 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 jump. We're good, right? Nice and balanced. Now, unfortunately, on the landing, as the horse exits away from the fence, he elevates his hind quarter. And guess what that does to most riders? It tips us forward a little bit. So let me complete the single break. Approach, approach, break, land, pivot forward. On the very second, your horse needs you to be your most balanced of all. How many rules do most of us tend to break? All three. Break, land, pivot forward. Now, here's a good question. Let's say that you have two fences. There are three tight strides separating them. You must collect all three strides. Approach, land, break, and pop forward. Can I collect right now? I can't. Okay? That's the problem with the single break jump technique, and it's not really our fault because the horse does it to it. He tips us forward. Now, the second kind of jumping position is called the double break jumping position. So what's the difference? Just watch carefully. It's identical to the single. Approach, approach, break, land. Now guess what we do instead of letting the horse push us forward? We break back again. So watch again. Approach, approach, break, land, break. You know what the second break is? Sticking your landing. Watch this. You jump, you land, and then you stick it again. Approach, approach, break in, stick that landing, and then get back to work. Let's say that not only do you have two fences, but there are tight three strides. Can I collect it now? Approach, approach, break, land, stick. Can I collect now? Collect, collect. Let's say I have a tight rollback to my next fence. Approach, approach, break, land, stick. Roll, roll. Do you see how I'm still staying in balance? So the double break is the same thing as what we see in the single break, but supersized. We're doing it twice instead of once. So what I want to do is I want to show you just one or two examples of each so that we can see the single and the double. Then what we'll do is we'll go to all of you, identify, do you do the single, do you do the double? Then we're going to go deeper. How is your back? How is your leg? How is your release? How is your hip? How is your position? And that sort of thing. Okay? One last thing. Let's just do this. I want you to watch this canter. Tell me what's unusual about this canter. Can anybody see it? Watch. Other than the fact that I'm doing it standing up here and it looks like really weird and somebody should put music on. Put a here we go. Okay, here we go. So what's unusual about this canter? Ready? What's unusual? What was weird about that? Why did I turn my hands away? Because I jumped. Watch again. Canter, 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 jump, canter, canter, canter. No break in rhythm. Do you see that? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's the double break. Watch it again. Can you see the jump this time? 1, 2, 1. You see it that time? Do you see the break in rhythm, in harmony, and tempo, and beat, and that sort of thing? So for a lot of reasons, we want to see if we can get ourselves to go from a single break, if that's what we do, towards the double break, okay? There are several different kinds of double break. What I'll probably try and teach each of you today will be the stadium, the show jumping double break. And it's really pretty tight. So we break, we land, then we break right back, and we get back into our canter, all right? The cross-country double break, we break, we land, and then we can go back up here a little tiny bit because our next fence is 100 meters away rather than 12 meters away or something like that. Let's see what they look like. So to begin with, what have I done? I believe we're going to start with our rider here. So let's get started. I believe what we're going to do is start with the, now this is important. How many of you believe that you're perfect? Please put your hand up if you're a perfect rider. No, we do that. No, we already had it all figured out. There's only like 3 guys in the whole room. And all of us are unusually perfect. Okay, so are you guys good with the fact that you're not perfect? You're all good with that, right? It doesn't bother any of us that we're not perfect, right? I work with some of the world's greatest riders. I've never found a perfect rider. Does it make any of you feel bad that I didn't find her today? Of course not, all right? I really believe this. What we want to do is look for imperfections, and then, instead of stopping there, instead of you saying, flatten your back, that's where we're going to start. That's where we're going to start to look for why the back is round. So anyways, if I freeze the camera on you today and identify an imperfection, should it make you feel bad? No. You know why? Because you just told me you're not perfect. You know you got them, so why would we be surprised to see them? So riders, let me bring it on. If you are doing the single break, and most of us are doing some degree of single break, if you're doing it, don't feel bad about it, okay? Just understand it, learn it, go out there with me this afternoon, solidify it, own it, okay? So anyways, I believe, let me just watch for a second. Yeah, we're going to start, good looking leg when you're landing, by the way. All right, here we go. We're going to now start by looking at the jumping position, okay? We are going to look at a single break. So we're going to go past the jumping position, which is good, well done. Open those hips. Now, I want you to notice, on the landing, we have a choice. So far, she's broken, she's open. Now she has a choice. She can tilt forward, or she can take that hip angle and close it again. Do you see where the second break would come? It would come right about now. Now, I want you to watch this angle here. Does she close it, though? Or is it staying the same? All right. So now this is interesting. What were the 3 rules of the break? Hips should be moving, but I think we saw them stay the same, right? Hips should be moving. We saw them stay the same. The shoulders should be still, but I think we saw them move. And the knees should be bent, but I think we saw them straight. Riders, this is a really good example of a single break jump technique. Do you all see that? Okay, it's a very good example of a single break jump technique. Can our rider right now, who is this, by the way? Is this corner not even looking? Well, let me kick you, and I totally kicked you off cruise. You big chicken. And it's going to get so much worse, because now you start picking on your shoulders and your legs. Just own this. You're like, okay, no worries. Okay, so riders, can she collect her horse right now? Can she bend into a rollback corner right now? Okay. Now, this is interesting. So many times people would come to me, and I saw a couple of these horses today, horses that are forward, horses that are quick. Guess what? Guess how we learned the double break? We learned it by mistake. It was like penicillin. We learned it by mistake, all right? We learned it by mistake by this. Many of the U.S. riders, or their horses, they would land, and then the horses would kick and pluck and rush away. You've seen that, right? So we made a really big effort. So on the second the landing occurs, to get ourselves right back into balance as quick as possible so that we could control the balance in the horse. What can Cora's horse do right now? Kick, buck, run away, whatever he wants. Okay, sorry, spit on you. Not a horse. Okay, but do y'all see how the horse could do that right now? All right, so this is a single break jump technique. Now, I want you to watch something. Watch it in regular motion. You're going to be surprised because it looks just fine. Doesn't it look it's just normal, okay? But it's when we start to really understand the mechanics of the jumping position that we're going to be able to look at that differently and learn from it, okay? I think I have another rider doing a little bit of a single break as well. Let's go through there. And you guys will just see if I can get to these as quick as possible. I believe that we might also be... Now see, this is just a tiny, small single break, but watch this. So here we go. When our hips Open up on the landing, watch. Now watch the shoulders, do we stand up? You see that space right in there? That's a little bit about what we want to get rid of. So this is a very small single break. Once again, it's a good looking jumping position, but it's a small single break, okay? What I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you a double break. Oh, double breaker's right here. Let's look at this. So who is this? Kenzie's like, yes. Yes, it's me. Don't worry, I'll get you something. I'll get her on something later. All right, so here we go. So in her jumping positions, oh, I got you already. So now she can open her hips. Now I want you to watch this angle right now. Watch what she's going to do to it. See how it's getting tighter? And then look at that. At all times, her hips stayed over top of her heels. There's a double break. Okay? So right now, this is where we froze the other riders, and we saw the distance between the britches and the saddle, and we were standing up a little tiny bit. Okay? This is a good example of a double break position. Okay? Can she collect her horse, bend her horse, balance her horse, encourage him to stay underneath her? She's in a good position to do a lot of things. So there's a good-looking double break. Let's now, I believe I have one more. You're all like, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Please be me. Please be. It's obviously in the second group.
Help me!
Oh, now this is going to be such a great picture. So it's going to be a really neat picture because this is when the horse finally started moving over the fences, but then it got to be too big. So here we go. What we're going to do is we're just going to go look at the double, do a single or double break. Now, by the way, that was an awesome landing. Okay, the horse popped straight up in the air. You even got left behind a little bit, but look at her landing. We've always said that we know we're sticking the landing when we have a good balanced landing if your landing position looks like your posting trot position. Doesn't it look like she'd be like in a posting trot? Well, let me help you out. Ear, shoulder, hip, heel. That's what we want on her landing. So that's just a really good landing. Okay, now watch her hips. See how it's kind of open? See how she's closing them? Now riders, hips still over top of heels. Now there's a really tight angle there. This is also a double break. This is a cross-country double break. You see how it's a little bit higher? Okay. Here's the rule of the only rule of the double break. Our hips need to stay over top of our heels. Okay. Instead of when I jump forward, now the shoulders and the hips are over top of the horse's, the mane and that sort of thing. Are y'all pretty comfortable with the single and double break? And we're going to be seeing it for the next hour, and you guys can ask questions, and we're going to pick it apart. But are we all kind of good with the difference between the single and the double break? We're all pretty good with that? Great. Okay. Now, I want to see if I can do something. I now want to break your bodies up into lots of little pieces. So it sounds really like serial killer, doesn't it? Sorry about that. It really did. I didn't mean it to sound like that, but it did. So just deal with it. Okay. I believe that what I want to see is here. Let me just take a look. Yeah. Uh-oh. We're all the same, aren't we? Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to take the mechanics of the body and we're going to break it down into pieces. We'll probably watch almost all of you in the next 10 minutes, but here comes the lecture, you guys. We've already done the lecture on the single versus the double. Here comes the lecture on the release. I think this is new. I don't believe we did this last year because we did a very sort of a broad brush view of the jumping position. We're going to go much deeper today. So in the release, we have to remember the release is all about following the horse's mouth. All right, that's the whole point of the release. So ideally, what we want to do is when the horse's head moves forward, we just move forward with it. So press the hands forward and in. There's something called a shotgun release, okay? And the shotgun release is fine because you follow the horse's head, you shoot the release, but before you shoot it, because we just need to shoot the release and shoot the release, before some riders shoot, they have to load it. So it goes, they go like this, they go, boom. So that's the shotgun. So boom, boom, boom. All right. I want you to watch as our rider comes up the grid. Watch your arms. Now, understand this. If the shoulders go forward, the leg comes back. Do know this. Ideally, if the hips go back over our fences, the hands should just go forward. So when we do the shotgun, that usually indicates that we're a little tight in our hips on our takeoff. But I want you to watch as we go down this line. Watch as each time she does release, but before she does, she loads her gun. Let's go back a little bit.
Because I live with boys.
I was gonna say, am I in Texas? That's possible. All right, here we go. Watch her release as she goes down. You see how the hands have to go back before they go forward? So what we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to, so you can see the hands going back right now, okay? Now understand this, riders, we have two choices over every fence. We can jump forward or backwards, all right? The rules are the same, okay? When we jump forward, 10 pounds goes forward, remember? When 10 pounds in the upper body goes forward, 10 pounds has to go backwards somehow. When riders jump 10 pounds forward, how do we get the 10 pounds back? 5 pounds in the legs and the other 5 in the chicken arms. Did you guys realize that the chicken arms is our body's actual response to being off balance? It's a little feel, you're protecting your body, but what it really is, when stuff goes forward, you try and get everything you can backwards. That's just the human body's natural response to moving forward, going off balance. So whenever we see riders doing the shotgun, it's either a habit they've learned or it's a response to their body moving forward. I think that's what I'm seeing is your body. If I took her horse right now, we might have ear, shoulder, hip, heel, but it's not straight up and down. So I think that the shotgun arm here is a reflection a little bit of a forward jumping style. This afternoon, we'll take it from the forward jumping style to the backward jumping style. So now here comes some rules. I think we talked about a couple of these last years. One of them is called Google Eyes. Did we talk about Google?
Yes.
Okay. So how do we learn to jump backwards? Here's the first one. All right. So if we see anybody jumping forward, and this works really well for the rounded back as well. Imagine you have those, little Google Eyes, those little plastic things. You have one on each back pocket. And as you jump, you look behind you. So you go, who's back? Okay, guys, to look back, all right? Because right now, what we're doing is we're kind of jumping forward, so they're still sort of looking down. Riders who round that back, their Google Eyes are looking down, will say, look back. Who's back there? What's going on? Who's over? Okay? So the Google Eye is one. I think the one that I like perhaps the most right now, it seems to work really well, is it's called the sock drawer. I think I did that, right? Sock drawer. When we jump, there's a chest of drawers behind you. You can push in the top drawer or the middle drawer. Now, let's push in the sock drawer, the one down here. You push in the bottom drawer because that encourages you to bend your knees, okay? The last one that I think is my favorite now, and I don't think did I tell you the potty squat last year? The potty squat. So a rider comes to me and she's finally figured out the double break, but she said it wasn't, well, it was because you showed me, but it was because somebody told me to do something. And I guess that's what she does. You know when you go to a rally or a horse show and you go to the porta potty and you gotta go pee, but you're not looking at touch it. She's like, when I go to the porta potty, I just kind of like spread my legs and I hover. I hover a little bit, but I'm not gonna touch it. I put my hands forward a little bit and I don't look down. Okay. She goes, it's the potty spot. So when she jumps, she's like, there, here's the potty spot. Okay. So she goes to the potty. I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of what it is. It's like inch it back, there we go. Hands forward, don't look down, tighten up. So this afternoon, so riders, how do we get rid of the shotgun? I could just say follow the horse's mouth, but I believe the shotgun is connected to your hips. I think the hips are tight, the body's going forward. The shotgun hands are coming back to cancel out that movement. I think the way we get rid of your shotgun today is to push in the drawer, potty squat, Google Eyes, jump backwards instead of jumping forward. Because riders, if she learns to jump backwards, the same rule applies. When something goes backwards, something must go forward. What went forward? The hands. They just go automatically forward. Okay? So there's the shotgun. Do we have anybody else doing the shotgun today? I think we have one or two. Let me go and see if I can take a look. So the shotgun there was kind of neat because it was over the grid, so we could really see it. I think our first rider here, oh, there's a shotgun as well. So watch. Is it the same person?
Yes.
Shotgun, she got it. Let's look at somebody else. I got two more. I just made it up. And I'm not going to, go through each of us right now. We will in a couple minutes. Is this a shotgun?
No.
Watch carefully. Is this a shotgun?
Yeah.
Do you see your hands coming back? A little tiny bit. Ask those hands to go forward. There's a little shotgun in there as well. Now this will be interesting. Is there a shotgun there? Watch carefully. Watch again. Tiny, just maybe a little tiny shotgun. Is there a bigger one on our next rider?
Same person.
Is that what I keep going to? All right, keep going.
She's just probably.
So the whole coincidence thing, the camera's fault? No.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, one of the first things that we're going to do this afternoon is work on a release. We're going to feel the shotguns. I'm even asked you to probably do a shotgun or two so you can feel it, then move away from it, okay? Now, if we could, I want to just, we did mention something a little bit earlier. We talked about jumping forward and backwards. I believe we might have one rider. As great as she is, remember we talked about this nice double break of hers? As great as it is, do we jump forward or backwards? Let me go back so I can freeze you in the right place. A little bit forward. Yeah, we're just jumping a tiny bit forward. Because she straightened her knees a little tiny bit, I think those shoulders did go. Now, this is important. She did jump forward. No shotgun. I like the position of ours. So she did jump forward. However, she can pull this off by, if she goes forward, she just now needs to do a really big break. She now needs to get those hips back. You can get away with jumping forward if you have a good double break. So I think we all know. Watch what she does to her hips. She now pushes them back. Push them back. Now here's the new rule, riders. At the height of the jump, at the very top, highest part of the jump, here's the new rule. We want our hips to be over top of our heels. I think she did jump forward. Because at the apex, her hips, her center of gravity, which is in the middle of our hip in general, is over top of her toes or slightly in front of her toe. Yeah, I think maybe you jump forward a little tiny bit. Is her leg a little too far back? Why is it there?
Because she went forward.
So I think there's so much you're telling us that we jump forward. I think the hips aren't quite over top of the toes. We might not have ear, shoulder, hip, heel, and that leg came back. I think all those things are telling us that we did jump forward a bit. No worries, we're going to jump back this afternoon, okay? Now this is interesting. So far, the rider has broken. She's done a break. What does she do now? So this is weird. Break. What do we do now? This is really important to understand. At the posting trot, what happens after every break? Break, open, break, open. Canter, what happens? Break, open, break, open. Jumping, break. What must she do now? She must open, okay? This is interesting because we all know this looks like jumping. It looks like jumping. But how many of you believe or understand that perhaps the most important part of any jump is not this, but what follows it? Boom, that. This is perhaps the most important part of jumping. How many of you have ever been taught to land in your heels? Remember, we teach that, land in your heels. There's only one way to land in our heels. Watch. When I jump, when I break, but don't open, then when I land and the horse tips me forward, can y'all see where the weight goes? It goes into my toes because my center of gravity is over top of my toes. Or, break, open. Now, the weight's in my heels. It's funny because we're told to land with the weight in our heels, but what we need to be told is after every break, make sure you land in your heels, and to do that, open. Just like you canter, break, open, jump, open. So now we've got this good break, good enough. It can be bigger and will be bigger today. But watch this angle. What must she now do? Open it. So watch that angle. Isn't that nice? Did you see how she opened that? We'll watch that one more time. That actually is a really good looking opening. Well done. Get your hips back. We need to push in that drawer more, a little more Google eyes, a little more potty squats, something. But take that angle right there. It's almost 90 degrees. And now it's starting to open. Good for you. Now, it's a good landing. It might not be, a perfect landing because we still want to see ear, shoulder, and hip, heel. I think Kim showed us that. But good enough. Well done. Hips close to being over top of our heels. I think this was the videotape where we saw her do the second break. There was her second break. So good enough. You got your second break, but we did jump forward, and as a result, had to land on our feet. Cool. Okay. I want to show you one or two more riders. Let's see. Let's go to our hips now. Let's look at a couple of great hips, okay? A couple of great hips. Serial killer talking about great hips. All right. 18. There we go. I was wondering about. All right, Kaden, watch this. She pushes in the drawer. Now she's really opening. Watch how she opens. As a matter of fact, she's already started to open a little tiny bit. So here we go. Well, you might open too early, which might cause you to be left behind. It might be a remnant from the horse not moving forward over his fences. But you can see that angle there. Watch as she opens it. And then there's that landing, your shoulder hip heel through that landing. Okay, so that's a pretty good looking opening. Now, if we could, oh no, this is convenient, actually. So we've just seen that. So we can really see how the hips open. Now, watch this angle there. Who's that?
That'd be me.
You're like, look at your like smile. Twisted, creepy little smile. But watch this angle right here. So right now she's broken, but now she needs to open. Watch that angle. Can you see that? It didn't open, did it? Can you see that? It didn't open. And as a result, when we land, we must land on our toes, and we automatically do the single break. Isn't that cool, you guys? Okay. So once again, actually, let's do this. Let's watch both riders in slow motion. And so this lecture here is on the movement of the hips over fences, which is weird because we don't usually think about it. Hips, they're going to close. There, they close. Now they open. Wow, they open nicely. And then they close again. The next rider, they close, but they don't open. And since they don't open, when we land, our center of gravity is in front of our toes. The horse elevates his hind quarter on the landing and tips us forward. So this is another real good look at a single break. Do y'all see that? Now, this is interesting. There's something in this picture causing our rider to do the single break. Does anybody know what it is? Her stirrup irons. Why would her stirrup irons cause her to do the single break? Guess what the biggest culprit of the single break is? Riders standing up on the landing. You see how we straighten those knees? Standing up on the landing. So we break, and then on the landing we may forget to open, and then we kind of launch ourselves forward by standing up. All right. This is interesting. When we take stirrups away from riders jumping without stirrups, you guys realize 80% of riders jumping without stirrups do a natural double break. You know why? They don't have anything to stand up. And if they don't stand up, they don't raise their center of gravity, get weeble wobbly and fall forward. If we land, keep the knees bent, stay low, we stay in balance. So it's interesting. You are doing a single break, I'll blame it on the stirrups. Let's do that. Knowing that 8 out of 10 take it. 8 out of 10 of us with stirrups do a single break. 8 out of 10 of us without stirrups do a double break. 1 out of 10 riders pinches really hard with their knees and stands up anyway without stirrups. And then the other 10% fall off, which is true. About right, yes, right there. So this is a good example of a single break, and it's also a good example of straightening the knees standing up. So riders, there is a really, really important lesson to this picture. The double break comes down to your knees. Believe it or not, the double break starts and stops in the knees. If we can jump, land, and then if we can jump, land, and keep the knees bent instead of standing up, we can avoid being tilted forward. So it's interesting. Up until recently, the knees had one really important role. Don't pinch them. That's the knee. That's what we always talk about, the knees. The knees, perhaps the most important part of the jumping position today, is the knees. Keep your knees bent, stay low, center of gravity low, good balance, close to your horse, and you can keep at work. Here's the other thing that's interesting. Right now, when we ask why do riders stand up, the majority of riders say, well, the jump's done. I can now prepare for the next jump. We talked earlier about us being athletes. Does this sound like an athletic thing to do? Right now, our rider is taking just a split-second break. Would any real true athlete in 75 seconds need to take 12 breaks? Good Lord. Can you imagine that? Okay. But that's kind of what we're doing here. It's kind of like jump, land. Okay, now I'm supposed to turn over here. It's just a little tiny bit of a break. Jump, land, stay in there, over here, there I go. Just keep your head, keep your body, keep your mind in the game. So that's what the double break is about as well. So it's this big puzzle, right? It keeps the horses from bucking, racing away, but it keeps the rider in a balanced position, and it keeps us being athletic. It keeps us being tuned in. So anyways, we're going to bend our knees this afternoon. Is there anything else that we could look at? Oh, yeah, I've got lots. Hang on, that's good. All right. Next thing. Oh, there's more. Here comes our favorite. Riders. What I got? I've written a lot of them now. Let's see. Let's just start it here. All right, riders. So we're at the takeoff. Great back position now. Push in that drawer. Do your first break. There goes the first break. Good enough. Hips over top of heels. It could have been a little bit bigger. Watch very carefully. What are we going to talk about now? We're now going to talk about our position. Are we rounding our back? Hang on a second. Be very careful. Okay. Are we rounding our back? We're now taking those seat bones and we're looking back. We're looking down underneath. Okay. We're now going to take a look at our round back, roaching. You know, losing our position, our posture over fences. So we can see here that I mean, look at this. She's got great posture. She's got a great position, and she shows it to us on the approach. She shows it to us on the takeoff. She shows it great. Look at that. How she? No, this is a good cue. A good cue here. She's got a. You know why she's got such a nice posture right now? It's because she's pushing her belly down. This position is called belly down. When we jump, we want to do the belly down. Ready? Belly down. You see my back right now? Riders who round their back, remember how I told you they'll like rotate the hips looking down? You know what they do? They lift their belly up. So when jumping, and I'll yell this at you guys this afternoon, belly down, belly down. I'm also going to yell something called burn the back. You know what? Right now, can y'all see my back is working really hard? It's burning. I'm going to ask you all to burn your backs today. The other thing I'll yell is wrinkle, wrinkle. Right now, you see how my shirt is really tight? Wrinkle. You see how there's wrinkles in the shirt right now? I'm going to be yelling all of these. Wrinkle, belly down, burn the back. I'll be yelling all of those things today. Especially if I see you go from the belly down position. Watch what she does. Do you see how she's lifting that belly up right now? To the belly up position. So we're now going to, and we'll look at this one more time. Right here on her, oh, this is just great. Look at her seat bones are looking back. Everything is great. Her seat bones are looking straight back. Watch as she rotates that down a little tiny bit. Right there. She rotates it right in there. And that's, so, Cora's so cool. She's watching it, Alice, and she's like, oh, there's my back. I can see my back. Hands are on this pan. She can see that, and she's like, I so want to, like, stop doing that. Here's the cool thing. You have the awareness that you're doing it. You know that you're doing it, and she has a desire to want to overcome it. There was only one thing missing. What was that? What's causing it? You know it's there. I can yell to you all day long, stop it. It's so important for us to understand that the back is not, it's not important for us to focus on the back, it's important for us to focus on what's causing it. What am I going to yell at you this afternoon? Burn your back, wrinkle, belly down. We're going to solve that this afternoon. Okay? Do y'all see what we're doing today? It's not about the imperfection, it's about what causes it, because if we understand the cause, we can understand the solution. Does anybody else have one of those backs today? Wait a second, it looks like maybe, so a little tiny back there, not bad. All right, shotgun release. And you see how the back stays straight? Okay, so just sort of, this time the belly was down. And let's try one more, let's try the one more. Let's do this. Maybe two more riders. Have we seen this rider before? Oh, there we go. There's a real good look at it. Yeah. Can you see how she's lifting the belly button? You can literally see. Oh, no, you guys are awesome. You see how the shirt is tight? I can see wrinkles on her tummy. Meaning, so we can see the wrinkles here rather than there. We just need to flip them, right? Get this tight and get the back wrinkled. I really believe as riders, many of us develop a really strong back. Okay, and then many of us develop a strong core. I think your core is probably pretty strong compared to the back because you're using it right now. This is a crunch. You see the crunch? My core is contracted right now. Relax that core. Drop the belly down. Use the back. I'll make you cry this afternoon. Yeah, your back's gonna be killing you. Tomorrow morning she'll phone. She goes, I can't ride. I'm gonna cripple. I can't ride. But yeah, we're gonna work on your back. But can you see how she's lifting that belly up, stretching her shirt on the back? There's a real good example of rolling that hip underneath us. Okay. Then she does a nice opening. Well done. Okay. Now this is interesting. And we might see it on our next rider. I'm not sure. These riders, the last two riders, are doing something very correct. Watch. They jump, then they lift their belly button up. Why are they doing that? Because they know to do this. To jump in balance, you have to break and then open the angle. So watch the hip. Break, open, break, open, break, open. You see the difference? They're opening the angle, they're just not sitting up on the landings. Okay? So break, open, break, open, break, open. It's the same thing. Mechanically, it's the same thing, but one of them sacrifices our posture. Okay? So the riders who are rounding the back, the 2 or 3 that we've seen, good enough, mechanically you've got what's needed. We just need to make sure that it doesn't sacrifice our posture. I have another one here. I forget why I wrote this one down, so let's go and we'll see if we can figure this one out. I think I remember it. Is this the same rider? Same rider, okay. So let's watch as we go down the grid. I think what you'll notice is the back will go from flat to round to flat to round. So here we go. Flat, round, flat enough, round, and then now it's sort of staying round the whole time. Let's go and watch this in regular motion. Just see around or back. There, can you see that back rounding a little tiny bit? Yeah. So ideally through the grid, what we're looking for is we want to see that it should literally just be that can't go to the line. So it would be like, and jump, 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 and jump. There, I just jumped 4. So we approach, break, 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 and then canter, and then canter. What a lot of us do, approach, break, land, break, land, break, land. That's what many of us will do. We're opening the core, but we're sacrificing our posture to do it. What we need to do is when we break, we need to open and sit right back up tall. So kind of neat. And we'll do 5 minutes of the lecture, and then we're going to go through all of you, and you're going to tell me, do you have a shotgun? Do you need wrinkles on your back? You're going to tell me all what you're going to be working on this afternoon. So, this next rider, this is neat. I have her written down as 2 things. That can't be. Who is it? Okay, here we go. All right, now riders. Let's see. What do I have written down? Shotgun. Shotgun. So we all saw a little bit of a shotgun earlier on. Okay, now I believe that we may round our back a little tiny bit, but I'm not so, I remember what it is. Riders, on the takeoff, what we need to do is allow the horse to come up to us. One of the main rules that we have in all disciplines of riding is to encourage the horse to come up to us, to want to meet us, to elevate their back, engage their abdominals, come up to us. Riders who, for example, riders who are in a chair seat, they would sit on their horse's back. That encourages the horse to want to go away from us, right? Kind of hollow them away from us. We want to encourage the horse to come up. What we need to do, however, is meet the horse when he comes up to be with him. So what we see in a lot of riders is their desire to want to help the horse by standing up over bed. I think that's what we'll see here. That's what I mentioned here. What we're going to see on the takeoff is the straightening of the knees. Do you see how the knees are straightening there? Okay. So riders, once again, let's remember the whole new role of the knee at all times, knees bent. On the approach, knees bent. Takeoff, knees bent. Landing, knees bent. Exit, roll back, knees bent. It is interesting, okay? So remember earlier we talked about the flippy things in the gymnast? Here we go, flippy thing, stick the landing, okay? We believe that we're athletes. What's unusual is why 80% of us in our sport, the only sport that goes 30 miles an hour and jumps 6 feet of things on 1,200 pounds of muscle, why are we the only athletes that when we do our flippy things, instead of landing and sticking it, we land and stand up as high as we can? You know what we saw earlier? Because of the strokes, we stand up. We literally sort of lower our balance by raising our center of gravity. So what we want to do is remember to keep the knees bent. In this picture here, what we want to do is on our takeoff, keep the knees bent. Now, understand this. No horse really minds when you go up. Do I need to finish that sentence? Yeah, it's the equal and opposite reaction. It ends up there. It's there that the horses are like, oh, dude, yeah, I felt that. Okay, I felt that. Okay, and remember we were talking about that? This is the point where, we're going to go back to this conversation. This horse was a little too quick today, so our rider's doing her best to calm the horse down. You saw that trot, calm the horse down, and she's really hitting on something important. The difference between slowing a horse down and calming a horse down. You see these horses, their heads up in there, and they're twisting, the rider is like pulling, and I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, slowing this thing down. But the horse isn't going fast. Do y'all see we've all been on this before. Like we've all been on a little horse that is quick. And oftentimes we'll go to the reins, we'll lean back. Here's a good example. Oh, my horse is going too fast. The book says lean back, close my hands. All right. So now the body's driving. It's like standing on the brakes and the gas at the same time. What we need to understand is that there's this huge difference between slowing a horse down and calming a horse down. And leaning back, pulling hard, driving, I can't see that calming or slowing a horse down, okay? So I really like what she was doing. She stands up to avoid the contact with the horse. No horse's mind. When we go up, it's when we come down. That's what. So right now we have contact with the saddle. I think at this point the horse might want to kind of pop forward a little tiny bit. Riders, this would be what we would consider a bit of a single break. So we pop down once, and I think we're going to get another one right here. How many of you have been on this horse before? Head up in the air. Okay, head up in the air. All right. Now, how many of yesterday? How many of you, when your horse's head goes up in the air, think that pulling down with your scrawny, puny little arms can actually pull like 1,200 pounds of muscle? Have you ever tried that? It's a natural reaction, isn't it? When the head goes up, we try and pull it down. But here's the other question: does it ever work for anybody? Ever? It never works. You want to know why? Because this is what we're talking about today. Here is the imperfection: head up in the air. But what's causing it? The imperfection, understand this, the imperfection is never as important as the cause. Head's up in the air, but what could be causing it? Understand this. Where does the horse's head carriage come from? Does it come from his chin or his pole? It comes from his back and his hind quarter, doesn't it? Okay? Now, if I see anybody doing this afternoon, I will yell thumbtacks at you. Remember this? For those of you who weren't here last year, thumbtacks. When jumping, I want you to imagine you have big thumbtacks on the back of the saddle, sort of look like this. And jump, boom. What would that feel like? Okay. Pain in the butt, okay? So jumping, so here you go. Jump, land soft, as if there's thumbtacks sticking out of the back. So if I see anybody landing heavy on the saddle, because that causes the horse to hollow, invert, head goes up in the air, then our hands come down, then we have the perception he's going too fast. But in fact, he's just upside down and inside out, but it's still uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for all of us. So riders, whenever you see or feel your horse's head go up in the air, you must ask yourself one question. What is that question? How are my thumbtacks? Could I be, don't get me wrong, a lot of horses, have this natural gait. Some of them off the track, some Arabs, some, if they've pulled an Amish cart for 10 years, head's gonna. Okay? However, when we have this on our horse, we must ask ourselves, what could be causing it? Might it be me? Am I on my thumbtacks? If so, soften your thumbtacks. Soften that contact on the horse's back so he doesn't hollow and the head doesn't go up in the air. Obviously, if somebody pokes me in the back, my head just went up in the air, didn't it? Okay? So anyways, another good example. Let's not focus on the imperfection, let's focus on the cause. Congratulations, we're going to slow that horse down this afternoon by thinking thumbtacks. Thumbtack. So do y'all see that? Okay? The idea here is to stay away from the tack. Okay? Over fences. Because the tack is tied to something, and we don't want that something to have that sensation. Alright. I think I'm done. I'm pretty sure. We haven't seen, oh, yeah, that's perfect. Alright. So, now, okay, don't worry. That was the introduction. Now the clinic starts. Okay. So that was the introduction. Like, good Lord, he talks a lot.